My body becomes like a cement. Oh my God.
That was the better one.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It's like magic. Literally like magic.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
If you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful now. You know, for some odd reason, the tech gods didn't want me to come and see you and see Catherine.
And you know, that's our favorite saying. We love technology when it works, and we love technology when it doesn't.
For some odd reason, StreamYard was like, I don't know Barbara J. Beckley. And I was like, yes, you do. Because this is my account.
Well, for me, you know, one of the new things that StreamYard is allowing us is to stream to another audience. Mm-hmm. Well, so it says on mine that stream this to your audience. So I clicked on it and streamed to my audience. Well, it's not connected to my Facebook page, and I'm like, but it is, you know. And then of course it wouldn't give me my It said, oh, that's not the right password. I said, I haven't changed my password. So yeah, one of those days.
I love it. But you know, I love it because we both was like dealing with it. So I felt like we were in the same boat. It felt really comfortable like that.
Exactly. You could feel my vibe.
Yes. I'm feeling the love too, because we're all together.
That we're all together. So I'm going to share with you my funny story of the morning.
Okay. Because you always have a good one.
Well, you know, but you know me. I want to be authentic, and you know, life happens.
Yes.
And so when something that happens in my life makes me laugh, I'll share it. You know, it's like a share. Okay, so this morning I'm 73 years old. My mother has been gone for 13 years, and I had a fight with her this morning.
Uh-oh.
Last week, I was brought up that, okay, we're let's talk laundry. So last week I was, I had the house to myself, so I'm going to do laundry. So I got my laundry done. Well, I was brought up that you fold as you bring warm clothes out of the dryer, because then they stay nicer, like sheets, towels, the whole 9 yards. Because you bring things warm out of the dryer. Well, last week I got all my personal stuff done, folded, put away, had a load of sheets. I have 3 sets of sheets because I'm organized, of course. So when I put on the last set of sheets, I wash the other 2. So I had my little pile of 2 sets of sheets. Took them downstairs. Well, in the meantime, one of my grandkids had come home and put in a load of laundry. So I went, oh, okay, fine. Well, I'll just wait, and so I threw them beside in our laundry area, and I'll come back and do them later. Well, of course, promptly forgot. Well, one of our things is that we have a table outside of our laundry area that just when laundry comes out of the dryer, it gets put on the table, and you come and claim your pile. Well, so this morning when I went, oh, brother Barbara, you never went down and washed your sheets. So down I went. And there's me with all the, and I'm like, okay, where are my sheets? Well, guess what? They were in a pile. Somebody had washed them, but they were in a pile. Well, so I said, well, okay, I'm just going to pick these up, and brought them upstairs. And as I went to start to fold them, I was like, I heard my mother's voice in my head going, what do you mean you're not going to go put them back in the dryer and refluff them so that they're not crooked? They're not wrinkled. And it was like her voice in my head.
And that audio voice speaking in your head.
That audio voice in my head. And I'm thinking, I'm 73 years old. I'm arguing with my mother, who has been gone for 15 years. But you know what? It was how times have changed. So I sat there. I literally, as I was, because I looked at them and went, I'll live with wrinkles. So there was holding up my totally wrinkled sheets going, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, Mom. And I was standing here just laughing so hard. I said, well, okay, I've got to share this. So I was sharing so I shared it with Carol, because we were talking before this. And she was rolling. She said, oh, Barb, I can see that. Here we are rebelling against our mothers. How old are we? We're still rebelling against our mothers. And it was just the funniest thing. I said, well, I guess I'll have to share it with Barb too on the show.
I love it. Well, you know what? I have to give you so much just kudos for that, because I argue with my mother all the time. It's been 12 years for me.
Yeah.
And her audio voices, and it's real loud sometimes, and real like yelly and like screamy, because that's how she was, Sergeant Beckley. So I had to give you credit, because you were like, okay, Ma, I'm going to deal with the wrinkles, right? But my mother would be the opposite. She's like, Barbie, what are you doing? And I'd be like, okay. So I would be like, I couldn't even sit there and say, okay, Ma, you know what? I'm going to deal with this. I would basically be pushing myself, because I feel her like saying no.
And my mom, and she was brought up that you ironed your sheets. You ironed underwear.
Yeah.
I don't buy anything that's not permanent press. David had one shirt that I had to iron, and it was like, David, if you want that shirt, then you're going to have to tell me days ahead of time, because I'm going to have to haul out the iron. He very seldom wore it, because it was one of those that I had to wash. You had to hand wash it. It was just one of those very expensive shirts. So I would have to hand wash it, and then put light starch on it, and then iron it and press it. And it was like, yeah. So if you're going somewhere special, if you have a special meeting, like an impress the boss kind of event, then yes, I will do it. But for every day, no, you're not wearing that shirt. You're just not wearing that shirt.
That'd be something else. That
There,
nice.
there was like, and I have to admit, it really did look really nice on him, but it was like, yeah, no. So this morning, there was me just laughing, standing in my room, laughing at me because I was rebelling against my mother. I'm 73 and still rebelling against my mother.
Well, see, like I said, you're good because I know even if she's not here, if I start to rebel, I'm scared that there's going to be like a thunderbolt that's going to come down and be like, "Don't, what are you doing? Mama said this."
And yet, how many others, especially women, how many others of us, like I can remember saying to my mom, "I'm not going to treat my children the way you treat me." Yeah, right. You're not. And I can remember her saying that. Yeah, okay, you just wait. And I think one day I think I've told you this, but one day I called her up and I said, "Mom, I have to apologize to you." And she said, "What for?" I said, "For anything I've ever said in my entire life about you calling me by the wrong name." She said, "You're doing it." And she was so polite. She said, "You're doing it, aren't you?" And I went, "Oh, yeah." And then, of course, we laughed about it because then we were two women who were faced with the same thing. And she knew that I knew it. I knew that she knew what it was. And then it just became such a funny thing. And yet up until that moment, it was like, Mom, what do you mean? What I could literally not understand why she could be like, maybe have me by the scruff of the neck and call me Elizabeth. Mom. She said, "Well, you know I'm talking to you." And I can remember doing that to my kids. One day I had Andrew by the scruff of the neck. "You may be bigger than me, but I'm still your mother. And you are Andrew, Malcolm, you are." And he would look, and he looked straight at me. He said, "Mom, my name is Andrew." And that's when I had to call my mom. And it was like, but in that moment, we were two women dealing with children.
Yes, and more than one or two.
And more than one or two. And it was, I was
Let me ask you this question, bro. Okay, so now you're talking about your children when you're growing up. Now you have your adult children with grandchildren.
With grandchildren.
I mean, that's like a whole.
I literally have to bite my tongue. I mean, sometimes it's like, walk away. I have to walk away because it's so different. It is so different now of like just the things that I just like doing laundry.
Just simple stuff, yeah.
That it was just simple stuff. Some of the clothes choices are yeah.
I know.
And I just have to walk away. I have to walk away and just like, okay, yeah, they're my grandchildren. And yes, and if I am babysitting them, then okay, fine. If when they were younger, there's like, if I was babysitting, but they knew there were Grammy rules and there were mom rules, and things that Grammy let them do, mom didn't, and the opposite, and the other way around too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now they're teenagers. The youngest is 12, and
another lane.
and they're in their own lane. They're doing their own thing, and the rest of them they have their own. They have licenses, they have jobs, and they're doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, like even just job ethic is different.
Yeah,
job ethic is different. So yeah, but this morning it was just a fun memory of hearing my mother's voice.
Yeah, it's like you said, the funny part. I like how you brought that. I'm glad you brought that out because people that their parents that passed away.
Yeah,
I always tell people they're never gone.
They're never gone.
You're always going to have that voice.
Yeah,
your voice, be it good or them yelling at you or them just saying it's going to be okay or whatever at that point in time in your life.
Right.
It's still going to be there. There's a presence there in your spirit. I always tell people. So, that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside, even though they're sitting there still nagging you in your head.
Right. Right. And that's exactly true, because sometimes it can be such a warm and fuzzy. This was a warm and fuzzy, but on the opposite side of that is like, one of the things that I teach is the law of polarity. There's two sides of every situation. There can be the other side of it where that voice in your head is so negative and hurtful and not over simple stuff like laundry. I'm talking about major life issues that this voice is still in your head. And that can be so hard to, like, for me this morning, it was like, okay, it was a fun rebellion. But for other people, it's a major trauma to still have that voice in their head.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to forgive. They have to forgive, because at the time, like, my mom could only raise me the way she was raised. She did the best she could with how she was raised and with how she lived her life. We are the same way. Well, our parents, they could only do what they knew. And sometimes if that was a negative, they did that because they were brought up that way. They didn't know any different. They didn't know how to do anything differently.
Yeah.
And that's a tough situation too. So I was just so grateful that this morning it was a fun memory, and yet I felt so rebellious. And it was a funny memory. So that's one of the things that I try to work with my clients, is that bring back that, if you do have a negative memory, offset it, because every negative, you need 3 positives to offset it.
Yes, definitely.
So if a negative memory does come into your being, then immediately say, okay, yeah, that was a horrible, horrific. I need to think something positive now. And right at that moment, it's a choice. And as hard as that is, and it's easy for me to say it, the words, but it's really hard to make the choice.
And see, you said the main thing that I always say, we always talk about this, Barbara, is the choice you make in anything. You have to, either you're going to go, in fact, you're going to react or respond to it.
Right.
And how are you going to do that? So I always say that choice for all of us is going to make a big deal of what's going to happen after that.
Right. Because we can't stop the memory. The memories are there.
They're going to be there. Yeah.
Those memories are there. They are a part of our being. Because your subconscious never forgets. It just buries. And that's one of the things that I share too, is that, what? It's like the image that I use is the iceberg, where you see the little bit of the iceberg above the water. That's your conscious brain, the stuff that you think with, you make decisions with. Everything else that's under the water is your subconscious, where absolutely everything that you ever seen, heard, or done is stored.
Yes.
Doesn't matter from when you were a baby. It is all stored there. And every once in a while, your reptilian brain will bring something up, and it'll be like, where did that come from? And you never know sometimes what triggers it.
Oh, yeah. It could be yourself triggered, or another person that said something can trigger it. I mean, or even a place or a song.
It could be a word.
It could be anything that could be triggered. Like, where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And in that second, we have the choice. Oh, I wonder. Okay, yeah, no, but gee, is that still triggering me? How do I feel about that memory? Ooh. And there have been times over the last months or so, every once in a while, a memory will come up, and it'll be like, ooh, Barb, that wasn't really a pleasant memory. I wonder why it's coming up now. So let's get curious. Get curious about why it's coming up now. What's going on around me? What was going, like the last one that had happened, what was going around me?
Yeah.
That brought up this memory. I think I was a teenager. And it was like, oh, that's how I'm feeling now was when I felt then. So let's deal with this now. Because, and then it's like, okay, now you can okay, Barbara, yeah, you're going to let this go.
Yeah, because you don't want the power over you.
I don't want it.
And really, making a strong presence, then you really have to say to yourself, okay, I have to do something because now it's taking over and it's like, yeah.
And right in that moment, that's your choice. Because if you feel like, if you hear the memory, like it's in the memory comes up, if you dwell on it, if you take the next step, okay, to just be curious, then, okay, fine. Then you can let it go. But if you take the next step and go, I remember feeling that way. I hated it. That wasn't good. And then you go into then you go down the spiral of down back to where you were back as a teenager. You have now given that one little small memory dominion over you again.
That's why it says you don't need the power over you. And then now you're taking either not just hours, but sometimes days and weeks to try to let go of that, because now it's just so, back in your mind, like,
It's like Charlie Brown. No, isn't it Linus that had the black cloud over him?
Oh,
dust. The black cloud was always he had the black. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens to people. That's
it's funny you said that, because one day, I don't know, for some reason, like you said, some things just come in your mind. And one day I felt it just came, and I felt this like I was upset. I was upset. I was really upset. And then I started looking like, okay, what is over me? Because why am I so pissed off right now?
Exactly.
And I really looked up like, what is going on? Yeah. And eventually when I really talked, really, like you said, Barbara,
get curious.
Once I got it out, curious about it, it slowly went away.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, let me get a hold of this, because this is going to mess up my whole day. This is going to mess up my whole day. So.
And most of the time, it happens in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you've lost, you can't find your keys, or in my case, it's like, what did I do with my glasses? That kind of stuff, those little things. So now you're running late. Like back in the day, it was like, you would find a run in your nylon. You've got to go change your nylon. So those little things, they are still their memory. Their memory, they're in your subconscious. They're a memory. So of running late, and then so that escalates into the next thing, and then you get caught in traffic, and that late, and then on and on and on. So now it's the afternoon, and you are so stressed to the max that you don't know what to do with yourself.
I know. It's like that snowball effect, and
it's the snowball effect. So when you have this, that's one of the things that I really work with people. When you feel that, as hard as it is, and I totally understand it, that's where you have to get curious. Where did this come from? Yeah. And that's one of the tools that you can use.
Yeah.
Get curious. Where did this come from? Not why. Not the why am I feeling this, but where did this come from? The curiousness of it. Where did it?
I'm glad you said that. That goes right into our wonderful queen guest that's coming on, because she's a business impact strategist, and I know she gets curious with a lot of her clients to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. Miss Catherine.
Exactly.
So, Barbara, again, I know you brought another wonderful, amazing.
Catherine is amazing. I've known Catherine for years, and we've had many great conversations.
Wonderful. So we'll be right back with Miss Queen Catherine right after the sponsor, real quickly.
Absolutely.
And we are back. If you're just signing in, this is the Time to Shine Happiness Show with the BBs, Barbara Beckley and Barbara Ellison. and our wonderful, amazing, incredible guest, Miss Catherine, Queen Catherine. Welcome, welcome, lady.
Thank you very much. This was so wonderful to be here.
Yes.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
I'm well, Barbara. Thank you. And Barbara, it's nice to meet you as well.
You too, lady. You too. I call the wonderful queen, all the ladies queens. So that's why you hear me. I always want you to make sure that your crown is straight on your head. And what you do
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So, Catherine, so I know Barbara said she's been knowing you and she always brings the best. And I know you're one of those people. So can you just give us a little, I always like the backstory. Barbara knows me. I always like to hear what made you this wonderful business impactor, strategist, helping nonprofits and leaders and the whole thing.
So, yes, I work with both for-profit and not-for-profit leaders to help them really look at how can they be better leaders with great teams and strong communication and at the same time make a positive impact in the world. And so it's sort of really the whole focus for me is that each of us as business owners, as leaders, no matter what kind of organization we work with, that we have that ability to make a positive impact, both on the people inside our organization, on our choices as to where we purchase things, how we show up. But we also have that ability to say, you know what, our businesses have great power and we can make a positive difference. Now, a lot of nonprofits, they're mission driven. That's what they do as their primary. But there's even more they can do, but businesses can do the same. And so making that positive change, having a strong purpose statement, which talks about your why, but also says that you're going to make that impact on people and the planet, I think is sort of the thing that is that driver. For me, it's like it lights me up and gets me going. And a lot of it is, it just needs to be integrated. It's not difficult. It's not expensive. It's just a way of being. And it's a way of being that makes you feel good, makes the people around you feel good, and you help others in the process. And in my terms, that's what I call a triple win. So that triple win is a win for you, a win for me, and win for people that we support or that we want to serve.
Yeah. And so one of the stories that I love is Catherine worked with a trucking company. It was a trucking company, wasn't it? And they used their trucks so you had them use their trucks. Yeah. It was like, I went, that's genius, which is what Catherine does. So tell that story. That was a fabulous story.
We were talking about ways they could help, and there was a nonprofit that was delivering meals, and they needed vehicles to be able to deliver those meals. And this particular company had trucks. They were on the road from sort of 7 till about 3-4 in the afternoon. And so rather than them having to deliver the meals, which they would normally do at around noon, they moved the time, the nonprofit did, moved the time to that 4 to 6 hour or double hour. And the company would provide the truck and the driver, and then the volunteer would bring the meals, and they would be able to journey around and deliver those meals. So what you had is this perfect partnership. The company was, doing great things and their trucks were on the road for longer. So they were getting more eyesight or eyes on their trucks, which was advertising for them. They were able to use that as, here's what we're doing for our community. The nonprofit would always advertise that they were one of their major sponsors. So you really had this perfect opportunity where everything was taken care of and everybody's needs were being met in a fun way. So it's always one that is a great one that can happen.
That's wonderful. I love how the profit and the nonprofit came together and helped each other out in that way. And you know what I'm loving? This is one part I love what you do, Catherine, too, is not only you're dealing with the profit, but the nonprofits, because I feel like they really need you, because I'm in a nonprofit organization. I'm a board member, and we've been struggling a lot with basically, first of all, making sure people understand who we are, and then getting the help, not just the money. They're asking for money for help, but also the volunteers. And I always say there's a strategy for everything. And I feel like you can come in and say, okay, let's look at this whole picture and see what's going on.
And it's making sure that everybody understands what you're all about. What are you trying to achieve? And how does their role, whether it's a volunteer or the frontline worker or even a janitor, it could be somebody, the storeroom clerk, it doesn't matter who it is. They need to understand what they're doing and why it's important. And everybody needs to know that their job, their role is a value add. And so that's where it really comes down. And we often see that people get into leadership or management positions and they're not communicating well. They're not helping people effectively. And so for me, what I always say is try and get on the same page and have those connections. And, when I worked in food service, I had employees all over the place. Like they were never in one location. They were in different buildings. They were in different ideas. And what I would find was I would do what I called my daily rounds. I would go out and have a wander around. Well, when I first started that, everybody was nervous. They thought, why is she here? What is she doing? And they're trying to stay busy. And I'm trying to have this conversation with them and just say, it's okay. You can take a break. I'm just here to see how you're doing. What can I do to help your day? Is there something that's not working? How can we fix it together? And after a while, we could talk about all kinds of things because I built the rapport. I built the trust. They knew I wasn't there to find fault. I was there to find solutions. But that takes time, but it works, and it works a lot. So I always said, it doesn't matter. Get out of your office, walk around, talk to people, and let them know that you care about them as a person. And then how do you make their job better, easier, more effective? Because that, in my mind, is a triple win. They're happier. They're going to be more productive. They're going to be more creative and innovative. What more can you ask for? And, people like to work for people they like. And I mean, the number one reason people leave jobs is because of their managers. So why don't we sort of look at this? And when I look at those strategies, what I've just shared, those are not difficult strategies, but they have to be learned and they have to be authentic. And for some people, they're not comfortable doing it. Now, I'm a really big introvert, and for me to go out to play, where I know I'm not wanted, is really tough. But I had an ulterior motive, which was I want my employees to know that I care. And I've been doing this since my very first job. This was something that just was automatic to me because I needed to build a team and I wanted a team. And so eventually I got my team. So it was always good. So no matter where I worked, I built teams and I built things, even when I was tearing everything apart to put it back together.
Right. And I think one of the things too, Catherine, is that it's building a team, but it's building a team that works. Because when you have if you can have a team we're part of a team. That we're all in this, because as the team grows, the company grows. And that's one of the things that I love about being with the wellness. I'm a brand partner for a wellness company. And that's how it is. We are all part of the same team. There's no sidelines, up lines, down lines. We are all part of the same team. We are building.
Yeah. And when I work with businesses where they silo, that becomes a real problem. So you're trying to break down those silos and get people to work together. Get them, you are all on the same team. And when you have that strong purpose, when you have that strong reason for being at work, for contributing, even if you're a for-profit company, as long as you've got that triple win in place, you're trying to find a win for three distinct areas, and that really makes a difference. And so it's just a different way of looking at things. And I look for a triple win in anything I do. How can I help you? How can I help me? And how can I help others? And so, here today, we're sharing happiness and good news and strategies that people can implement that might make their jobs better. So, that's good for you guys because it's for your show. It's good for me because I get some exposure. And the people that are listening are going to get all of the loveliness that you guys have, for the first half hour have produced. And then, you added me in and, we can continue. So I just think that that's what you're looking for is how do we make that work?
Yeah. And you know what I like when you said about, making sure you get out there and talk to people and they know you get to know them. That's building, I always tell, building relationship, building trust factor. And then also understand that they're valued. See, a lot of times that's what some people just really want to know, that they are valued within a team, within an organization, whatever it is. And once that kind of fails, that's where you start getting rocky. Because like you said, Catherine, a lot of times people do leave because they didn't feel valued, or their manager or leader or whoever, what was going on, even in a team atmosphere. So I'm glad that you do that. And what you did, you pushed yourself. Like you said, you're, an extrovert. You would say you're extrovert, right?
Introvert.
And you pushed yourself to say, you know what, what I feel is beyond now, because I want to make sure the individuals know that I care. So right there, I love that, because even though, because I'm an introvert too, and people be like, yeah, okay, right. But yeah, I am. But my mission pushes me farther than me feeling that introvert part of me, because I want to make sure that people know who I am and stuff. And you do the same thing, and Barbara does too. I think Barbara's an extrovert though, right?
Oh, she's an extrovert.
But that's what, like once in a while with me though, I'm a little bit of both, because once in a while it's like, okay, I am done talking. I do not talk to me. And I can remember, coming home and it was like, why aren't you talking to me? Because I've been talking all day. Give me a chance to regroup. And then, because like I can remember times in my life where it's like, what's wrong with you that you're not talking? It's like, well, because I've been talking all day. Give me a break.
Yeah. And we're all on a spectrum. And that introvert, extrovert, there is that spectrum. And so you're going to have times, and all of us need times to recharge. Just introverts, we recharge totally differently than an extrovert recharges. And so, but we all need that quiet time. We all need that time away. But for me, like to go into places where it's strange, I don't know anybody. It's often easier for me to just retreat inside and not have to do things. So I've had to train myself over the years on how to, walk up to a group of people and introduce myself, or how to walk up to somebody who's standing by themselves and, start a conversation. It's something you train yourself to do. And, so it's an adapted behavior style that I use, but at the same time, I might still be shaken like a leaf inside, and I said, for me, it's much easier for me to talk to 300 people at a podium kind of thing, or on a stage, than it is for me to talk to one or two people just standing around in a room.
Right. Exactly.
It's funny you said that, Catherine, because I do the same thing. Because, like you said, I'm always talking and speaking. I'm a speaker, and I have to do that. Plus, like you said, networking. So a lot of times when I go to networking functions, and I always have to laugh at myself with this, I always sometimes look for the person that's really like talking, because sometimes I don't want to be the one that has to pull teeth.
Exactly.
Sometimes I'll go to the ones that had to pull teeth, because okay, this is practice for me. Let me go and talk to them. But then sometimes I'd be like, I don't want to do the pulling of the teeth today. So now I'll go to the person that's talking already. I just kind of come where they are and just kind of
Yeah, I do that too. Because sometimes you just want to just let me just listen. And I'm listening, and then of course the pride sets in. I am so just because I am doing so good a job of listening It's not that you're listening. You just don't want to talk.
And when you think about it, you're there to learn about other people. So the more that you're listening and not talking, the more you're learning about other people. And then you can find out, like, how can you help them? How can you maybe, how is there something that you would like to talk to them about after? Because you don't have to be talking during the networking. You can meet them after for coffee or a Zoom meeting or whatever, and have that conversation. And I mean, even like people were saying, well, networking online is useless. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I have made some amazing connections. I actually prefer to network online. And even with local people, because what it does for me is it gives us an opportunity to really connect. And we may find, like, we have nothing in common, but it was great to meet you. And then that's great. But networking is that opportunity for us to get out there, to meet new people, even if it's online, as I said. But what it does is it also gives you an opportunity to hone those listening skills and find a way of helping somebody else. And then hopefully they ask about you. You can share your little snippet. And then if there's more that you want to talk about, you can do that follow up. And I think, like, a lot of times people don't do the follow up that they could, and they're letting a lot of opportunities go. So I think, that whole thing that the success is in the follow up, it really is true. And I've been that person too that doesn't follow up like they should. And I'm going, oh my goodness.
That was a really good reminder tip, Catherine, about successes in the follow-up. Yeah, it's so important to do that, because then you ask yourself, okay, now why can't I get, sometimes I say, what's going on? I know I went to these networks and I met people. What's going on? And in the back of my mind, did you follow up?
Right.
You took the information. What was next, Barbara? I'm talking to myself.
Exactly.
Okay, I got to blame myself for this now. I can't even sit there and talk about anybody else.
Right.
Yeah. And those are the kinds of strategies. I always say that's my biggest failure, is my follow up. Like I'll get busy and then I forget. And, I said, it's like one of those things that you go, okay, I'm going to do that. And then if it doesn't get on my list of things to do, it's out of my brain. And so I've learned now to use it's now all tasks, but before it was reminders and tasks in Google Calendar. And for me, I use that extensively, because then everything I need to do goes in there. And then the most fun part is being able to click on the check mark that says it's done. And I love that. So, and of course it marks it in your calendar. So when you can say, I marked off 3 things today, I'm like, oh, so excited.
I'm like a little kid with that, Kathy. I'm the same way. I'm like, yes, 1 check mark. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So but that to me is like the best part of my day, and is just to say, yes, I got all these things done. Right. And then they, because they move with you day after day, once you put it on there, until you mark it done or you delete it, it's staying with you until you get it done. And so the neat part is, like I even have things, because I'm going to be moving, and I have things on my list already for what's going to happen when I'm selling my house. And it's like people, like I look at it every time and it's like, okay, but I got to get this done first before I can put my house on the market. And they're already on the list. So it's reminder that deadline is looming.
Right. One of the things that I have done that has helped me do the follow-up is that when I have a networking event scheduled, I block out the half hour after it to just say, oh, I just met you on this network, whatever it is. And that has helped immensely.
I like it.
Because right at that moment, it's like, I now schedule half an hour, or if it's going to be a bigger call, if it's going to be like a bigger event, I will schedule an hour. That's because that's my follow-up time. Because if I don't do it then, it doesn't. You're exactly right. You get busy, and then all of a sudden a week has gone by, and then you're like, well, how can I follow up with them now? I've been ignoring them for a week, and all that kind of stuff sets in. So that's one of the things that I have now done is I schedule half an hour to an hour after a networking event to do it's for an online thing.
And just to your point about, well, a week's gone by, how can I follow up? I do, because
I do. Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of times like I had every intention of following up and didn't. But then the neat part of that is now you can say, last week when we met, I had every intention of following up sooner, but as you can see, life got in the way. And now all of a sudden they realize that, they're still in your mind. And so you have a new opportunity. So I would say, even if you're running behind, take advantage, make it a positive that you're still thinking of them and that conversation you had, and then, sort of say, I'd love to meet again, or, are you free for a virtual coffee or something? And now people are like, oh yeah, I'd be up for that. And so it's perfect for those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah, because one of the things you have to remember is that you didn't follow up with them, but they didn't follow up with you either.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that we have to remember. That it's the law of it's why I teach it, the law of polarity. There's two sides. They didn't follow up either. And that's the part so often we as entrepreneurs forget. That, yes, we think our business is one-sided. We're reaching out to clients or customers or whatever. But you know what are we doing? Because, if they were somebody that I was meant to meet, they didn't follow up with me either.
Exactly.
So that's why now that realization has made it so much easier for me to go back a week later and go say, hey, Barbara, you didn't, but they didn't either. So let's just see if it's worth happening, then it will.
And sometimes, like, the way that you have every intention of scheduling that time after, but sometimes that's not possible. And so when that happens, how do you do that? And sometimes, like, I can do things like sometimes my evenings, that's when I'm a little bit more creative is in the evening. I will actually write my emails or things, but I don't want to send them at 7:00 at night because, where they're going, they could be going, to Eastern time zone, etc. And so then what you do is you turn around and you can go, hey, you know what? This is what I do. So I write them and then I schedule them to go out at a different time when I'm busy, but I wrote them when I wasn't. So, I do that scheduling of the distribution and I find that works, but they all go out individually. It's not a mass email ever. When you do follow up after networking, you never want to do a mass email. It's individualized, but you know what? People love to hear that, like, and it's like when people say to me, you hardly ever phone. And I go, yes, because I don't want to interrupt people's schedules. That's my issue. That's not theirs. But it is the way. But when people phone me, it's always like, oh, it's so great to hear you.
Hear from you. Yes.
I'm going, this doesn't make any sense. I love it, but I can't do it. So, but I'll always, invite people to have a call, but not necessarily will I just pick up the phone and phone them.
Yeah.
Those idiosyncrasies that we have that are kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, Captain, this has been wonderful, lady. And again, we have to bring you back. You are amazing and some wonderful tips. A lot of our audience, I've been seeing that they're saying, yes, thank you for that. And they love Barbara's tip about extra time after networking. And, what Catherine said about, you just have to push yourself a little bit because it helps you in networking. So a lot of good tips today. Catherine, I put down your contact information, but is there any other items, information that you want them to know to reach you?
Well, I mean, they're more than welcome to get my success plan, which is just a little handout. And they would just go to igniteleadership.co / and then success-plan. And they could just get a free download. It's just a success plan, and it will actually walk them through my Spark framework, and they may find that is helpful as well. It just walks you through a format that will help you stay more successful, and it helps you sort of walk through what you do when you do it. So it's a great strategy and keeps you thinking on the positive side, which is what you guys are all about.
Yes. Could continuously remind ourselves to be positive, and Catherine has those tools. I always tell people, get the tools, especially if it's free too. Start with the free, but don't just stop there. I'm gonna have to give people a little push here. Don't just stop at the free. Catherine has a lot of other product and services that that can be helpful for you. Invest in you.
Right.
The thing you can do is invest in yourself to grow more and more in life. So when you do that, the price point of it is just not even irrelevant sometimes because you're investing in yourself. So Catherine, thank you again for coming. And Barbara, again, thank you for bringing the Power Pack Queens.
You're welcome.
And as you always say, I always got to give you your...
Yeah, let's make happiness the norm rather than the exception. I will share with you one thing that I just heard. And this just kind of hit me between the eyes a little bit because it's so true. You don't get paid for what you want. You get paid for what you are. And I had to stop and think about it for a minute. Well, what am I? Well, I am a caring, loving person who wants to make an impact in the world. Okay. That's what you get. You don't get paid for what I want. It's for what I want is that going to impact the world around me. Yes. And that's what I have loved this conversation. So yeah.
Lovely tip to let people think till next Tuesday when we come back. So with that said, have a wonderful Tuesday, wonderful week. And remember, always make happiness the norm, not a bad one. Talk to you later.
Have a good one. See you next time.